Hey guys, what is up and welcome to a new Tesla update video. So today, as per usual, let's go over Tesla stock. Let's go over what happened today on an absolutely phenomenal day for Tesla stock. But the question, of course, is it out of the woods yet? Is it good to go, or is there still more concerns ahead? I'll give you my thoughts, of course, moving forward. And yeah, as usual, if you enjoyed, don't forget to hit that like button. This is not financial advice. I am not a financial advisor. And of course, if you do enjoy my technical analysis, etc., I do share my thoughts every single day the market is open in my YouTube membership section. That link is down below in the description of the video. For just $3 a month, you can access all my thoughts, post updates, technical analysis, etc., update on the charts every single day the market is trading as the market is trading. Mainly on Tesla stocks, sometimes other stocks, or for $5 a month, you get everything I just said, plus NVIDIA daily updates. A lot of those actually for NVIDIA, quite a bit lately because NVIDIA has been my main focus. But nonetheless, all that being said, jumping into it, NVIDIA. Tesla closing the day up a nice respectable 8% on the day, closing at pretty much $410 per share, which obviously compared to the market having a great day today, but Tesla having an even better day. So what does this mean moving forward, right? Is it out of the woods? Is Tesla safe? Is it time to rally? Is this dip done and it's just up from here? Or are there some signs of concern? That's the main question I'm sure a lot of people are asking, and that's what I'm going to be trying to figure out here, right? I'm going to remove this for now, actually. So this is my thoughts, right? This is my thoughts. So first and foremost, let's get the obvious out of the way, right? The obvious out of the way is the fact that we're still in this technically descending channel. Now, obviously, yesterday we mentioned how, it's a bit of a question mark, right? It was a little bit iffy because, it's still holding market bias. One candle, like I mentioned yesterday, isn't enough to really not necessarily make a trend, but it's not enough, especially on a day like yesterday, to fully just, go off of that alone, right? Even though it did look a little bit suspicious, closing kind of just, slightly below. But we mentioned, I wouldn't, write it off just yet, right? It could go lower. I think the lowest it goes is about 360, but it's hard to say, right? It's hard to say yesterday. It's hard to say because it was like an earnings-like move, right? Hard to say. And now I didn't expect 8% to the upside today. I'll be completely honest with you. I definitely thought we would, at the very least, top closer to $400 per share. So it's a little bit stronger than I expected. But now that we're definitely, convincingly well back within this essentially bull flag / descending channel, it's a little bit easier here. Now, obviously, the issue is the fact that I don't think we're out of the woods yet. I don't think Tesla is safe and ready to moon or anything like that just yet. But, it's not looking too bad, right? So overall, this is what I expect, right? While we're within this essentially bull flag / descending channel, and I say bull flag because it is arguably a bull flag still, right? You can definitely make that argument. I expect chop. I expect a lot of chop pretty much within this general range right here, which can potentially last up until pretty much the majority of next week. Like there's a good chance the vast majority of next week is chop. It's just pretty much sideways chop, up and down, back and forth, just making as many people, lose money as possible. Not really, ultimately going in a direction. Options, for the most part, losing money as theta decays away, and it just kind of goes up and down, maybe even like pretty aggressively 4 or 5% daily, right? I expect chop within this area, right? Anywhere between as high as again, 415 to about the 425-ish range to as low as pretty much that 360. Very large range, I know, but again, I overall expect chop until a certain condition is met for me personally, right? In terms of truly entering a trade with conviction. And that's going to be pretty simply put a breakout or down to, my personal level where I'm, feeling like the risk reward to me personally is good. Now, first is the breakout level, right? The breakout level is, of course, well, simply put, really just breaking out of this downward channel / bull flag, right? That's simple, right? Which, of course, is going to be this upper trend line. That's the most important one, in my opinion. Usually when you're in having a bull flag set up, the upper trend line is most important, and a bear flag, the bottom trend line is most important. Anyway, so in this case, the top trend line, right? Which, again, pretty much right around here. I don't know how long it'll take. I don't know when it's going to happen. I don't know how much chop there's going to be. Nobody knows, right? Nobody knows. But until I see a convincing closure pretty much above this trend line, which sometime early next week will be pretty much above 425 to 430. I'm not fully convinced yet, right? I'm not fully convinced yet, especially considering despite today's phenomenal 8% move to the upside, the stochastic is just still pointing straight down. Like, I'm not sure why this is the thing, right? Why is this thing still pointing pretty much straight down, right? Beautiful, beautiful day. We actually even closed above the gap from 2 days ago that we left, right? Pretty much right around, the Tuesday gap, right before the earnings, or the delivery numbers came out, right? We actually filled that gap and closed above it. That's a good sign. Like, that is a good sign. To me, that shows that the bulls, are definitely still here. Tesla, don't count it out just yet, right? Don't count it out. I'd like to see that. This is a good sign. The fact that we were able to close above that gap, not just fill it and then close back under. If we did close back under or even unable to fill it, that would have been more concerning. But the fact that we were able to go above it is a good sign. So again, don't count the bulls out. I don't think Tesla's, crashing down to like 200s. At least as of right now, it doesn't seem like it wants to. But with that being said, again, expect chop within this area. And until we close above this trend line and essentially pretty much initiate a breakout, I'm not fully convinced that, we can't still potentially go lower, right? There's still a potential for that, right? Until this chop is essentially done and we either go to my lower end target, which would be, again, closer to 360, or at the very least, depending on how long it takes, maybe even closer to 370 itself, which was pretty much yesterday's low. Really depends on how long it takes and how it moves. Or again, the breakout. One of those two things will happen. I don't know which one will happen first, but I do expect chop. My only option for me personally in terms of a trade at this point also is mainly to sell puts. I'm not looking to enter shares here, just personally speaking, right? I'm looking to sell puts, and I'm looking just to, essentially expect this potential chop / overall sideways action, which will of course work very well for sold options until we get a clearer direction as to where we want to go next while we maintain within this downward channel. So again, similar to what I've been saying a lot of the time. Remember, we were in this upward channel for Tesla and we kept going upwards, right? Same idea. Now we're in a downward channel. So naturally you expect to continue going overall downwards, despite obviously these, nice moves to the upside within the channel until proven otherwise. I do think though, once it is proven otherwise and once we do break out, we should get a beautiful move back up to the very least retest all-time highs, maybe even go into the 500s. Honestly, very much a possibility. I do think that actually is a very real possibility, but we're not there just yet. And that's kind of what I'm mainly waiting for before I personally enter shares just outright, right? To me, this is more of an option selling type scenario for now until a clearer direction is formed. Because again, like I said, MACD, the lines, they're pretty much still pointing straight down. And I just don't like that the stochastic is still pointing straight down. Like, 8% up on this thing just barely budge. It's a little bit eyebrow raising. I'm not going to lie. I'm not really sure about how I feel about that, to be completely honest with you. But again, strictly going off of levels alone, that's the main thing I'm eyeballing, right? I like the fact that we gap filled. I like the fact that we closed above the gap. I like all these situations that are happening. I like the fact that we're holding within this channel still, despite it being a downward channel, obviously / bull flag, but nonetheless, still, pretty good. But there are still some concerns, and we still need better confirmation of a breakout before we can be sure that there's not more downside potential, which as of right now I expect more downside until proven otherwise, essentially while we're within this downward channel. Now, another thing to watch out for is going to be, yes, it's market bias, right? The market bias of course held it, which is pretty good. Doesn't always work like that, obviously, to this nice little level, but it held, which is nice. The next thing to watch out for is this cloud, right? This EMA cloud, the 9/21 EMA cloud that I have right here, this little green cloud you can see, right? The reason for that is because this is the first time ever since, arguably ever since pretty much the presidential election, we've, essentially, have been trading on the bottom end of the cloud, right? Ever since this election, we've been pretty much trading on the upper end of the cloud, you can see, right? Constantly above the cloud, and every time we come back into, we just bounce up and go even higher until recently, where we officially finally did not do that. And we, of course, on the daily chart, short-term speaking, of course, have officially also started making lower lows, lower highs, right? Where you can see we made this low here, and then the ideal scenario is continuing to make another higher high. We didn't do another higher high. Instead, we set a fresh new lower high into a breakdown into a fresh new lower low. So we are also in a lower low, lower high type scenario for now, which is fine. That's usually what a bull flag is, right? It's a consolidation, which is fine for now. Like I said, I don't think it's necessarily a bad thing as long as you maintain this bull flag and obviously ultimately at some point break out, right? Yeah, so that's kind of the main way I'm looking at it right now. And again, when I brought up the cloud, the main thing about the cloud that I'm kind of, I guess, question marking, if you will, is because it acted as a massive support, and we bounced off of it over and over and over and over and over and over again, pretty much since the election, right? Now we're below it. The question, of course, lies, well, will this cloud now act as a resistance? That's the main question we should be, kind of looking forward to, seeing an answer for. That's something else, right? So let's see how that plays out moving forward. Ultimately, again, I still think Tesla looks good. I like the fact that it maintained within this channel. I like the gap close, fill, and close above the gap. I like all these, tidbits of information, if you will, in price action, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. All good news in my opinion. But still in a downward channel, and we need to see a breakout before any true move to the upside can truly be initiated. Up until then, I expect the downward channel to continue, the price in a downward sense. Let's see how that plays out. Also, I want to very quickly, I want to go over the weekly chart quickly, but I want to look at QQQ. QQQ is pretty interesting here because QQQ, tech, obviously, right? It's barely holding on to the market bias, right? We have, of course, the clouds. If I remove the market bias, you can see here, the cloud, the EMA cloud, has turned red, which, it has in the past. Like for instance, here, it has turned red, so we could be like right here. I don't know, hard to say for sure. We could be like right here though. But the point I'm trying to make is the fact that, I'm gonna remove the clouds for now, is this trend line, this red trend line, right? This red trend line has held the QQQ many times, right? We've bounced off of it over and over and over and over again. We haven't closed below, despite this candle right here. Obviously, we went below it, but we still closed above it. And then what happened recently was we obviously did go below it on the market meltdown, if you will, a few days ago, if you will, right? And now we're essentially turning this potential resistance into a trend line into a resistance. So that's kind of a concern I have moving forward with the market, right? It's hard to say how I feel about that, right? Because it is a concern. Now, can this completely be a false, breakdown and massive bear trap and we close back above it, blah, 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 blah. Absolutely. But is it right now? No, it's not, right? So, I definitely want to see a bit more strength come in from the market on the QQQ here, or else this could just be potentially, a rejection, and we could potentially make our way down a little bit lower even, right? Maybe even closer to 500 for QQQ, which, assuming Tesla or NVIDIA or really just the broader market follows suit with the broader market itself, that could still, spell out a little bit of trouble, a little bit more pain ahead. But I still believe that the overall market, if we do get that move down, will be absolutely closer to a bottom than it is to a top. I'm just, not sure if we have one more move to the downside left in us or not. That's the part I'm still kind of overall, major question mark about, right? And that would kind of follow with Tesla with this downward channel. If the market does decide to go a little bit lower, let's say QQQ to 500-ish, let's just say something like that, which would be a percentage move down of another, maybe 3%, nothing crazy, but maybe 3-4%, right? That could, be enough pressure for Tesla to also show a little bit of weakness, come down to the actual bottom of the Bollinger Bands, bottom of the descending channel one more time, and then we get a bounce and move up from there. That's kind of what I wouldn't be too surprised to see, but again, it's hard to say for sure. The market's in a bit of a finicky spot here for sure. So anyway, that's my current assessment. Now let's go to the weekly chart on Tesla, right? Nice, decent looking candle on the weekly chart with the weekly candle, arguably a arguably a hammer candle on the weekly candle here. It is a red one. I'm not a huge fan of the red weekly candles, or just red hammer candles, I should say, in general. I prefer green/white. In this case, for me, it's obviously white because my candles are white, but green or white hammer candles are a little bit better, more convincing. Red ones, especially with the wick this slightly long on the top, not the most convincing hammer candle in the entire world. But again, I view hammer candles more of like a bottom indicator, and I don't really think Tesla's in a downtrend overall on the weekly, right? So I don't know if I would view this as like a potential reversal. It could be. It's really hard to say. I'm not gonna lie, it's a very finicky spot. So the one thing I don't like, I will admit though, is I don't like the fact that we closed the week below 415, which is that previous all-time highs. That does show a little bit of weakness to me. I would have absolutely liked to see the weekly close above 415 and continue to turn that 415, previous all-time highs into a support. Like that's what I would have really liked to see. Now, granted, we're not too far below it, but even just closing the weekly below 415 shows a little bit signs of weakness for me, which can potentially, further impact, I guess, not impact, but further convince me that this downward channel / bull flag that we're in still has a bit more downwards pressure ahead of us before we truly find the bottom and before we can really begin that next leg up, assuming, of course, it happens with a breakout above, well, again, this bull flag / downward channel. So again, overall, my overall idea here is the fact that it's looking good. I think the bulls saved the stock a little bit today. It's looking a little bit healthier, of course, but there's still some warning signs. There's still some issues. We're still in a downward channel. The stochastic is still pointing straight down, and there's still definitely some work to do for the bulls. And overall, for the next week or so, I expect chop anywhere between as high as about 425-ish per share to as low as closer to $370 per share. Very large range, but Tesla's very, very volatile right now, and that's just kind of, it is what it is, right? So let me know what you think down below. Taking a very quick look at options flow, let's see what Tesla is happening over here on Tesla stock. For options flow, that's a lot of calls coming in for Tesla towards the end of the day. I do like to see that, but again, a lot of calls came in before delivery numbers, and hey, what happened with those? So a lot of calls though, regardless. Hey, it is what it is, right? A lot of calls came in for Tesla before the market closed, especially for next week. Actually, a decent amount came in for next week as well. So the bulls, I don't know, man. Maybe they're not done just yet. But let's see how this plays out. Clearly bullish options flow, which is a nice sign to see. Take a look at the confirmed options flow as well for Tesla here, see if you can find it. It is sitting at closer to 20 million, which isn't too shabby at all. Nothing crazy, but not too shabby. But one thing to note is the fact that, again, you never know, maybe Tesla doesn't follow the market. It doesn't always follow the market. A lot of puts came in towards the end of the day here, right? Pretty much as the market closed, a lot of SPY puts came in and some VIX calls came in right as the market closed. Let's see, man. Let's see how that plays out over the weekend. That's, a little bit of a question mark. Let's see. Maybe Tesla will not follow the market. Who knows? But a lot of conflicting things here. So it's very important to not be super stupid, essentially, and greedy, right? Make sure you're having good risk tolerance in this kind of market because we are in a bit of a kangaroo market. So just be careful. That's all I want to say. Either way, thank you so much for watching. I'll see you on Monday.